for questions, if that's okay with everyone. So my name is Ivan Diaz. I'm running for the 29th District in the Michigan State Senate. I'm a former Kent County Commissioner. I'm a community organizer. I'm an activist. I'm a democratic socialist. I am Mexican, and I would like the people of the 29th District to send me to Lansing to be their fighter for them. I truly do believe that if we had a society that had much more respect for women, that didn't have to put obstacles in front of women, that didn't have to rather put women in positions where they have to fight for their birthrights, then our country and our society, our world would be much better than it is today. In 2024, the country where my family came from, in Mexico, elected the first woman president in Mexico's history and the first woman president in North America. Her name is Claudia Sheinbaum. And President Sheinbaum has led the defense against Donald Trump and the fascism and imperialism that is coming from the White House in the entire world. So much so that European presidents and national leaders have called President Sheinbaum, have met with her, and have asked her, how do you deal with Trump? How do you deal with having this next door neighbor who is constantly trying to undermine your people, who is constantly attacking you? And what she has said time after time is that we have to act with cool heads. We have to know what we're fighting for. We have to know where we come from. And most importantly, we must never give in to the forces, to the right-wing forces, and some neoliberal forces who are trying to dismantle the progress that Mexico has had since 2018 when they elected their first leftist president in 100 years. And so, yes, I mostly focus on economic issues. Yes, I believe that single-payer healthcare is the only solution that will get us affordable and accessible healthcare to everyone. Yes, I believe that we need to raise the minimum wage to at least $25 an hour. But more importantly, we also need to recognize that we have a right-wing party that is attacking women, that is trying to roll back rights that we won even in the last couple of cycles. And we need to send fighters to every level of government who are going to stand against that and who are going to be willing to fight for us. Because we all know that the right-wingers, they've got their fighters. They change the rules when they need to, when they have the power. And so that's what we need in our party. And so I'll stop there and see if anybody has any questions for me.
Given that the State Senate District 29 is a Democrat safe district. It's been 2 election cycles. It goes heavily Democratic. How important is it that we get a true progressive voice there that supports things like Medicare for all, not taking corporate money, things of that nature? Is it important to elect another moderate Democrat, or should we elect somebody that's actually going to push the party to doing more bold actions?
Yeah, I'd like to preface this as the first question to just say, Commissioner Kilgo, respectfully, all of my answers will not be directed at you, they'll be directed at Phil Skaggs. So just want to make that clear. To be clear, Phil Skaggs is the only candidate in this race that has openly and directly said that he doesn't support single-payer healthcare. And so, yes, this is a safe Democratic seat. Winnie Briggs won this seat with 61%. And I'm pretty sure that over the last 4 years, the people of the 29th haven't exactly gotten more conservative. If anything, we've gotten much more younger, much more diverse, and I would venture to guess much more progressive. So in this 60+% Democratic seat, yes, I absolutely believe we should be sending the most progressive candidate to represent us on Lansing. Other questions? Yes.
The child care cost crisis impacts women especially and can be felt by thousands in the Grand Rapids community. What solutions would you bring to the table in office as the District 29 State Senator?
Thank you, yeah. I believe that we currently have a program in Michigan, I believe it's called the Tri-Share program or something along those lines, where families pay a third, the government pays a third, and employers pay a third. That sounds like a good solution at first glance, but the reality is that that program has to rely on individual employers buying into the system. It's a neoliberal solution that's not really a solution, in short. And so I believe that we need to follow, for example, Mayor Mamdani's lead in New York City, where he is guaranteeing childcare to, I think, every kid under 5, starting with the pilot program and expanding from there. I think that's much more the direction that we need to go. Reducing barriers and trusting people is the solution, not adding in even more barriers to systems that we all know aren't working currently. Thank you. Yes?
You use this term neoliberal, and I'm just curious, in your words, how would you define neoliberalism?
Yeah, I'll give you a perfect example right now that I think we probably all would be very familiar with. Does anybody remember probably everybody in this room got the stimulus checks that the working class referred to as stimmies during the pandemic, right? And for the most part, those checks arrived directly in their mailboxes or in our bank accounts. The government wasn't checking in to see how we're spending that money. The government wasn't asking us send us back receipts or tell us, just generally what's going on with this money. Commissioner Kilgore mentioned the RX program that does very similar things for expecting mothers and mothers with babies. That program is very similar in that the government doesn't track how those families are spending those dollars. There was actually a hearing today in Lansing where Republicans with their majority were giving the director of that program hell because they were asking her, well, how can we be sure that mothers aren't buying weed or flat screen TVs with these dollars? And the director flatly said, we trust families to spend this money in the way that's best for them. And that's what the distinction between neoliberal and progressivism exists. A neoliberal solution puts barriers in front of people to get the care or the services that they need. Obamacare is a neoliberal policy because yes, Obamacare changed the rules so that people weren't denied health care due to pre-existing conditions, but Obamacare did not address the fundamental root of the problem in our healthcare system. And that root is that our system is set up to make money for billionaires and corporations. Yes. It's not set up to keep us healthy. And so single-payer healthcare, that's progressivism. Some may say it's democratic socialism. Obamacare, that's neoliberalism. RX kids and stimmies, that's progressivism. Putting guardrails or barriers in place, that's neoliberalism. So I hope that was clear for everyone. Yes, please.
I'm just curious, I know your focus is on economics, and I'd love to hear you say a little bit more about that because I think it's different from how a lot of traditional Democrats have been approaching their races over the last years.
Yes.
Where there's a lot of other issues, not that they don't matter, but tell us why you really want to focus on economics.
I wouldn't say that I grew up poor. I would say that I grew up working class. My father grew up poor, lived in a dirt and rock house. My mother, in very similar veins, grew up poor. I grew up working class. In the studies that I got a bachelor's degree in Grand Valley State University, and towards the end of my time there, I did a study on Mexico and a study on corruption in government, and basically studying the collapse of countries. And what came up time after time is that when a majority of working class people are struggling to meet basic needs, they become much more willing to sacrifice the rights of other people if they believe that will help them put food on the table, or keep housing, or keep healthcare. And so what I firmly believe is that we need to decide what kind of Democratic Party do we want. Do we want our next state senator to be somebody who threatens people to not run for office? Somebody who has recently, as a week or two, threatened a union who's supporting me to take back their support, or otherwise he wouldn't support a bill that they're trying to push? Do we want somebody who's going to vote for over 90% of corporate subsidies? Somebody who, again, no disrespect, actually, yes, did vote for the data center tax breaks in the first bill, and then when it came back, he voted against it. I know what my values are. I'm not going to go back and forth on them. Yes, we need to raise the minimum wage. We need to guarantee healthcare, housing, and education to people, and we need to protect our environment. If we fulfill those basic things, then Democrats will win power, and we will hold power. And that's my firm belief.
Thank you.
Alan, how are we doing on time?
3 more minutes unless you want to cut it short.
One last quick question.
Neoliberalism seems to have a deeper root than what you insinuate. I agree 100%. Milton Friedman in Chicago developed the gratuitous service to the public under this guise of letting money trickle out of the millionaires' pockets down into Reagan grabbed that in many South American countries, including Britain, and it was absolutely destructive to the world economy. So neoliberalism is much more egregious than a lot of people realize.
Yes.
It sounds very nice. It's kind of like the term Medicare Advantage, which it's not, Medicare Advantage is not advantage to Medicare in any way. So when you use the word new liberalism, it's exciting to people, but it's dastard. It's dastardly to progressive causes.
Yes, of course. And to my mind, Commissioner Kyogo received a question from you on the number one issue in Lansing. The number one issue in Lansing is the corporate influence of politics in both major parties.
Yeah.
It's that simple. And until we elect people who are not going to take this money, but more than that, who are going to show up at events like yesterday when we were outside of the Lost Place protesting against President Bush and Clinton and causing GRPD to harass us, those are the kinds of leaders that we need. And so yes, the neoliberal era has been here since the 80s, and I think it's time for it to end.
Yeah.
As well, absolutely.